Hey everyone, just got done watching a video from the Creepy Kentuckian over at Deadpit where he was talking about his movie memories from when he was a kid and what got him started in horror films. And I figured I would kind of do something the same way too, and maybe post it as a video response. And he was talking about how he would rent videos from the video store and, the first ones he saw in a theater. And for me, I got started in watching horror movies when I was a little kid as well. And the first ones that I ever watched were always on home video. I never went to the theater to watch any of them. I always had the chance to watch them when I was at home. And I started out at a very young age. I was probably around somewhere between 7 and 10 years old when I first started watching horror films. I may have been even younger, I'm not even sure. But I had an older sister, and she's like 5 years older than me, and she was a fan of horror films. So she would always rent videos, and I would have the opportunity to watch them. But I do remember that there used to be a video store right down the street from me, and it was called Movie Max. And after that, it was called Superstar Video, which then transformed into Movie Gallery. But back when it was called Movie Max and Superstar Video, they had a special. All they had was VHS tapes. They didn't have DVDs at that time, and I remember that we would go there, and they had a special deal where you could rent 5 movies for 5 nights for $5 on any of the older VHS titles. And they had them, divided up into genres. Like they don't do that nowadays. Like usually when you go into a movie gallery somewhere, it's just either new releases or back catalog titles. They don't actually have them divided up into genres. At least a lot of places that I went to didn't do that. But this place did, and they had any of the older horror films. You could rent 5 VHS for 5 nights for only $5. And my mom would let me pick out 5 movies, whatever I wanted to, and I could rent those for 5 days. And we did this almost every single week. And she didn't really care what I watched. She knew that I knew the difference between what was bad and what was good, and I understood that, and so I could pretty much watch anything I wanted to. So there was times I was renting like the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Video Violence, Night of the Creeps, Return of the Living Dead, all of this when I was really little. I have really fond memories of renting the Invisible Maniac. Very very cheesy film that no kid should be watching at that age. But one of the first things that I do remember though is watching Tremors and Critters. And I think those are reasons why I'm such big fans of those films now, is because those were some of the first horror films that I ever watched that intrigued me, got me into horror films, and I was just fascinated by the creature effects works and all that. And I probably thought that they were real creatures at that time. When I was a little kid, I probably thought, like, how did they get those real animals? Those are really cool. I'd love to see one of those in real life. But yeah, I watched those 2 movies were the first ones that I pretty much ever seen. Probably that, Gremlins, and maybe a few other PG-13 horror films. But yeah, at a very young age, I was watching R-rated violent horror films, Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2, stuff like that. And I always had this vague memory of going to the video stores, searching for an hour at the different video covers and which one I could find that had the most blood on it, which one would be the most interesting for me to watch. And so I always chose those, and my mom didn't care, and I always had a lot of fun doing that. And I think in my area, I was probably the only kid that did that. I was the only one that ever rented those, because every time I would take those tapes up there with my mom to rent those, the cashier always gave me this like really weird look, like, why are you watching these films? But those are my fondest memories of horror films, or of renting horror films, and that is pretty much the reason that I got into horror films. Is my mom would let me rent them at a young age, and she didn't care what I watched. And if there was anything that I was unable to watch, I always had my older sister to get the videos that I wanted, or anything like that. So yeah, I was watching a lot of stuff that I shouldn't have been watching. I also remember there was a lot of teen comedies that I shouldn't have been watching too. Like there was a movie called Teen Spirit that I really liked, that was about an invisible guy who would always go around the girls' locker room. I rented stupid stuff like that all the time just because thought it was funny, stupid, silly. It had nudity in it, so I was interested in that. But yeah, those are my fond memories, and this is probably going to be posted as a video response to Wes's video on Deadpit channel. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys soon.